Hello everyone, this is Fadi, and I want to welcome you back to a continuation of this video series on the origin of the name Muhammad. I hope you've enjoyed what has been covered so far by our dear brother Mel, who's done an excellent research and has always given all of us the background behind any point that he's making, quotations, screenshots, references, you name it. Today, we are going to discuss, or I should say Mel is going to discuss with us even the origin of Muhammad that predates even Christianity, and he's going to use a couple of sources for that. And with that in mind, I'm going to turn the conversation over to Mel. Mel, welcome back, and thank you for the research, and thank you for this topic.
Well, great to be back. So today we're going to be looking at the ultimate origin of the word, and it goes way back. It goes well beyond the beginnings of Christianity. We're going to be going as far back as 3,200 years ago, which is an incredible amount of time. And the word Muhammad is first seen in Ugaritic. It's a Ugaritic word, which is like an ancient Syrian language. And we're going to look at the meaning of it, and surprise, surprise, it's going to have quite a different meaning to how it's used in terms of Muhammad, and it's not in any sense a prophecy of Muhammad. So I'm sorry to disappoint Muslims if they think it is. So let's have a look. So it's Karl-Heinz Ohlig who gives us this piece of information. It's a loan word. Muhammad is a loan word from Ugaritic, and it means desirable or precious. That language, Ugaritic, is attested in texts from the 14th through to the 12th century BC. And there's a map there that you can see where we're talking about. That city of Ugarit was destroyed roughly 1190 BC. So Oleg says that in areas close to the former Phoenician territories, the term Muhammad might go back to a loan word from Ugaritic, where the form means desirable or precious, or another closely related Semitic language. The basic Semitic meaning of the verbal root might be finding something desirable or precious on account of its form or splendor. So you could use the word Muhammad to refer to, say, gold or silver. You'd say it's precious, it's desirable. So the participle Muhammad might be translated as the chosen one. So this is an associated meaning. So it's, if you talk about something being precious, you might say, well, it's because it's precious, therefore it's the chosen, or it could be chosen for that reason. So he argues that such an understanding, Jesus is the chosen one, is close to biblical usage. The people of Israel consider themselves to be the chosen people, a term still used in Paul's speech in the Acts of the Apostles. Do you want to respond to what I've said so far, Al?
No, it's kind of interesting because this is in between the time of Abraham and a time of Moses, technically speaking, which two prominent figures that Muslims tend to use. They will say Muhammad came from the lineage of Abraham and Muhammad is a prophet like Moses, but yet what we're seeing here has nothing to do with either.
Yeah. It has nothing special in its meaning. It's just an ordinary word which means desirable or precious. So that's where we find the first instance of the term. Now he goes on to say that in the Gospel according to Luke, in the Transfiguration scene, the voice of the clouds called Jesus the chosen son, and the Greek word is eklegmenos. Okay, probably by analogy, he says the term is dissimilar to that in the Gospel of Mark, which served as a model for both Luke and Matthew. And the term used there being beloved one. On the cross, Jesus is taunted by members of the High Council. Having helped others, he should now help himself. If he be Christ, the chosen of God, eklektos, that's the sense of it, again, chosen one. The two Greek forms, eklemenos and eklektos, are forms of the same verbal root, eklego, to choose or elect. Thus, if
and that
Muhammad,
describes the church, by the way. Describe the church in Greek as ecclesia. I mean, the called out one. Basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good connection there. Thus, if Muhammad is understood as the chosen one, then the term would reflect an important biblical and Christological tradition. So, the word is coming very much from a Jewish Christian tradition that links all the way back to that Ugaritic word meaning precious. He also says that the other meaning, glorified or highly praised or similar, goes back to the classical Arabic usage of the root and has a good biblical and Christological basis. So, for example, in Psalm 118:22, the stone which the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone. And then in the next passage there, you can see the word Baruch and Barak Nukam. Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. We have blessed you from the house of the Lord. Okay, so there's an associated word with Mahmed, which is the blessed one, the Baruch. Now, if we think about that for a second, the root Barak, meaning to bless, used in these Hebrew verses, is also common in Arabic, where the
That's right.
exact equivalent of the form Baruch is Mubarak. Okay, a well-known name. Even modern speakers of Arabic will admit that Muhammad and Mubarak, if understood as adjectives, are synonyms. Would that be your experience, Al, that people use these terms interchangeably?
Yes, and of course the word barak or baraka, I mean, all of that has to do with blessing in the Arabic word. Barak, by the way, like when you talk about a camel, barak meaning like went down and stayed on the ground. But all of these come from the same root, undoubtedly. And even the Hebrew word right there, I mean, I can say when it says baraknokum, or baraknakum, meaning we blessed you. Without even looking at the English, it's talking about someone that was being blessed by Yahweh in this case.
Yeah. Now, the viewers will be familiar with what was said when Jesus entered Jerusalem on a donkey. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. So that term, blessed, is associated with the Messiah. So you have these two synonyms, Mahmed and, Baruch, essentially are both synonyms for the Messiah. So it's interesting, and this I think supports the case in terms of the origin of Mahmed, that in Islamic tradition you have both those words used for the Arabian prophet. You have Mahmed and you also have Mubarak.
Right.
I think that's a lot of food for thought. It kind of shows that originally what was intended by Mahmed or Muhammad was the Messiah, which Christians would say is Jesus, but Muslims, well, at least in the early days, would have thought it's an Arabian prophet. And then the idea of Muhammad being a Messiah was dropped, and it was changed to the sense of being a prophet or a messenger. So that's
Yep.
my take on it.
Absolutely. And I know we still have about maybe 2 minutes. So, what is the take out of all of what has been covered so far? What is the point that you want our viewers, especially the Muslims, to gain out of this? And I want you to be the one to articulate it.
Yeah, so if we think about it, Muhammad originally comes from a word which meant precious, and it got associated with the chosen one. It very much was a messianic title. Christians for centuries believed that it was another way of referring to Jesus, and the Jews used that term to refer to from their point of view, the yet to come Messiah. So what seems to have happened is that the Muslims are borrowing from the Jewish and Christian traditions. They're taking that term, which meant Messiah, and they're mutating the meaning, which was originally a title, and confusing it and treating it as if it was a name for a person. And I think that's a historic mistake that has happened, probably through ignorance over the centuries, because they got disconnected from the biblical origin of the name or the title. So
That is true. And
that's
of
my take
course,
on it.
there is a title for Muhammad Al Mustafa that shows in one. I mean, I would argue that this is what Jesus was called in the first place. And I'm not surprised that excuse me, that the Muslims are now trying to find a way to apply it to their prophet. I mean, it's the issue of legitimacy. That's all what's going on. You want to use something that is popular, known, so that you can apply it to a person that you are trying to promote as if he is the legitimate one. Is that a good assessment?
Absolutely. I think how it happened was a gradual transition from Mahmed, Jesus, to Mahmed, the Arabian prophet, and they took along a lot of the other terms for Jesus and applied it to Muhammad. And then there was confusion in the ranks because a lot of these terms actually indicate that Jesus is divine. And obviously, there's definitely one pathway there in Islamic tradition that doesn't want to claim that Muhammad is divine, and yet there's also that other tradition that seems to hint at Muhammad being divine, and that's a problem for them. And I think that kind of echoes the roots of these terms.
Absolutely. I think next time we are going to talk about the instances where Mahmed was used in coins and inscriptions. Is that correct?
That is correct, yeah. So we're going to look at the very first inscription using the word Mahmed, and we're also going to look at its use in coins as well. So it's going to be quite an interesting one.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for this exciting topic. And thank you everyone for watching. This is Al Fadi over and out. God bless.